All right, what's up, everybody? This is Matt from Hunt Fish New England. Thank you for tuning into the channel. Whether you're tuning in via YouTube or on our podcast, this is going to be a gear review episode. Typically, all the local baits that we picked up while at the New England Expo a few weeks back. And we want to promote the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, which is coming up this weekend. So I believe that's March 8th, 9th, and 10th. It's a great show. Dan Kenny organizes that one as well. And these baits that we're going to show, you might still be able to get some of them at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo as well. So let's do a gear review of the things that we found at the New England Outdoor Expo. Yes, I might have lost one there. All right, so just looking at what we got going on here, we have some products from lead-free Bass Jigs. Matt Ken, he's awesome. So we got jigs, we got Ned heads, all sorts of stuff from him. In addition to, wow, I bought a lot of stuff from that guy. You can hear it all here. In addition to that, Krank'd Up Custom Lures out of Rhode Island. We picked up some gear from them as well that we'll go over. Still going through lead-free Bass Jigs stuff. The tried and true Crazy Hick Bait Company. These are the doohickeys. These were a custom pour for the New England Fishing Expo. A couple new products from Samatis Baits out of Massachusetts. These are what he calls the Tomcat. These are tungsten football finesse jigs. And I'm looking forward to putting some of his Neds on there. And last but not least, which we'll get into, a couple iconic baits. Fresh Baits is so unique. We have 3 different colors of one of their new products. We'll talk about the name of that one in a minute. And we also have the Scorpion, and we ended up going with more of an orange color. They don't have the name of the exact color here, but we picked up some of the orange Scorpions for springtime. So, and not a New England product, but the shaky head for these bigger baits from Fresh Baits. So again, we've got this is all fishing gear. This is all freshwater fishing gear. We have lead-free Bass Jigs. That's a Massachusetts company. Again, Samatis Baits, also a Massachusetts company. Fresh Baits from Mass. Crazy Hick from New Hampshire. And we have Krank'd Up Custom Lures. Yep, Krank'd Up Custom Lures out of Rhode Island. So let's start with Krank'd Up. So I met the owner of Krank'd Up at the show, and the man's giant, and looks like he can definitely haul some bass into the boat. This is one of their wake baits, one of their swim baits. It's in the perch pattern. A lot of the places that I fish that have perch as one of the main forage. Has a lot of milfoil, so by judging this one, it looks like it's gonna wake nicely. It's got some good sound to draw fish in, and it swims and it cranks. So one thing about these Krank'd Up Custom Lure products, these are really well painted, and I also like that they're not like overly painted. They still have some translucence to them. I found that in some of the more clear water bodies of water that I fish in, that clear is a little bit better of a move. So very excited about that. Came with the trebles. So great bait. Looking forward to chucking that. What really initially drew me to their booth was their spooks. So I do a trip. I mentioned it in the last podcast. I go to Bear Spring Camp. It's in the Belgrade Lake region. And it's a smallie smash fest, and when they're hitting top water, they're hitting top water. So I wanted to get some spooks for for that body of water. And they have bluegill and they have perch. So this product is called their Spooky Walk Junior. It's in the 1/2 ounce. I don't really like to throw anything more than a 1/2 ounce, to be honest with you. Again, it's got that translucence to it, really nicely done paint job on there. Some quality trebles on there. A little bit of sound, not too much, but just a really good looking bait, ready to go, fresh out the box. And another Spooky Walk Junior from Krank'd Up Custom Lures is the perch pattern, that same size profile. Everything's basically the same, but just like with the wake bait, very nice perch color. Got the sound. Again, ready to go right out of the box. So I'm really looking forward to those. Pretty much all throughout the season, I can start throwing those pretty early. Those would be good pre-spawn, during the spawn, post-spawn, and that swim bait, if a pike or a pickerel doesn't take it, I'll be throwing that probably also through the winter. So very nice to meet the guys over at Krank'd Up Custom Lures, and a New England company I didn't know about. And that's one thing I love about going to Dan Kenny's expos. He's drawing people in from all over the region and the country, for that matter. I mean, heck, I met Oliver Nye. Out of all places, I met him in Marlborough, Mass. So, and that was the other thing I didn't mention. This is a new venue for the New England Fishing Expo. Before, it was in Boxborough. And, I mean, that's a nice venue, don't get me wrong, but the show got too big for it, in my opinion. It needed more of a bigger open layout. And the new venue in Marlborough, Dan really nailed it. It looks great. All right, let's keep it going. After I had met the guys at Krank'd Up, I went over to lead-free custom Bass Jigs. Now, what I really went there for were the Ned heads. I like to throw a Ned. I always have a Ned tied on. My go-to Ned is through the Crazy Hick Bait Company. I always have a black with red flake tied on, hands down. And I prefer a Ned head, a light one. These are the 1/8 ounce. I had mentioned it before. I like a lighter Ned head. I think they're a little bit more versatile. I'm not fishing super deep water. I feel like they get hung up less, and if they do get hung up, they're a little bit easier to pop out. But these are beautiful. These are made on owner hooks, really well painted, and I usually just go with black. So I'd pick those up, but at the table I couldn't resist. There was that's another package of the Ned heads. Oh, there's another package of them. So in addition to the Ned heads, I bought a lot of Ned heads that I see now. I ended up getting some jigs from lead-free Bass Jigs. I can't remember the particular type of head here, but I didn't want to go too heavy. I bought some 1/4 ounce and some 3/8 ounce. Just some typical jigs. I can't remember the type of jig head on this, but again, it's a local company. He's cognizant that there's a lot of milfoil in New England, especially down here in Mass. And that's going to interrupt a lot of guys from throwing a jig. They might just go Texas rig or fish around the weeds. But this particular head from the pro staff that I was talking to, just the way in which it falls and that it's tied on, it's going to glide down through the milfoil and actually get down to those fish and not get hung up like a football head or something would. So not a swim jig, but kind of a sleek profile like a swim jig head, but still heavy and flat for your typical flipping and pitching. So I've picked up a few of those, and another product that I picked up from them was the swim jig. This one's in a perch pattern. I believe this is a 3/8. No, this is a 1/4. I like to throw a lot of finesse stuff, but I really believe that this is going to crush, especially anywhere there's perch, but also with a Crazy Hick Bait swim bait on the back of that. But these are all high quality. I mean, these are just as nice, if not nicer, than things you buy in a big box store. And they're lead free, so you can fish them all over the place. And yeah, I'm very excited. So I got to meet Ken. Ken's a great guy. It's a company I'm very happy to support. And yeah, these are all very high quality. All right, let's keep it going. Samatis Baits. Something new that he has released this year. This is their Tomcat, I believe it's called. Let me read it. The Tomcat Tungsten Football Jig. Solid wire hook. Weedless. 1/2 ounce. And I picked this one up. This is like a green pumpkin skirt. And I picked up another one. Same thing. 1/2 ounce, but black. And I'm just, again, I like finesse, but these are going to be more for like you're flipping and pitching around docks and like in rock and stuff. It's got the football head on there. They're small, but they're heavy. And I'm definitely going to be throwing a net on the back of that. Jamie's got great baits. I have a ton of Samatis bait, Neds and craws. This weekend when I go to the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, I'm assuming he's going to be there. He's always there. I think that's where I first met him. He has some great baits. I'm going to start throwing more of his like typical, worm patterns, like 5-inch worm. But Samatis Baits, quality, been around a little while. Great guy, another great company I'm happy to support. Let's move on to Crazy Hick Bait Company. Again, I have a ton of Crazy Hick Bait stuff. I felt bad. I was over at Jason's booth and I only walked away with 3 things. But I have a lot of Crazy Hick Bait products. What he released this year, and this was unique to the New England Fishing Expo, these are what he's calling the doohickeys. These are something, it's almost like a craw imitation, but it's a paddle tail for the claws. So sometimes like the beaver style, they're just kind of flat. These are kind of more legit paddle tail. So I can just see these being really good, just Texas rigged or on a free rig, and throwing them in a little bit deeper water and really letting that action from those paddle tails come down. This particular color is the best. This is my favorite color outside of the black with red speck. This is a custom pour. This is the bluegill color that Jason has. Amazing for any bluegill fishery. I have a lot of luck with this actually, where there's a decent amount of smelt forage. He has a like a cattail shad. It's almost like a 3 or 4 inch minnow, but just like a straight tail. Something that is more used for like finesse fishing, drop shot style. I just nose hook that thing like a banjo minnow, and in anywhere that there are smelt, chuck it and just fish it back, just like they asked you to do in the banjo minnow commercials. Or I'll fish it back like you would like a fluke, fishing it like a jerk bait. But that specific pattern crushes in smelt fisheries. But on the same topic of the doohickey and the same topic of smelt fisheries, this is another custom pour. This is actually the smelt fish pattern, so it's more ghosty. If I'm looking at it right, it's got a little bit of purple, some black flake, some gold flake, kind of more of your ghosty pattern. Again, I would love to chuck this thing in deep water, let those paddle tails go, maybe with a free rig, maybe typical Texas style with a bullet weight. This would also be great on a trailer. So as a swim jig trailer, I didn't get a color that would really match the swim jig I got from lead-free Bass Jigs. But if you're looking at like the size profiles, they'd work pretty darn well together. As you can see, for a typical size swim jig, just imagine these paddle tails swimming behind that. Actually, that might work. If I'm looking at it right, that might work. Those two together. I mean, why the heck not? So that's a new pour with a couple unique colors to Crazy Hick Bait Company. That's the doohickey. And all these companies that I've talked about so far, I'll link all their sites and everything in the description, but the stores are super easy to get to. All the color profiles are very easy to select, especially Jason. Jason at Crazy Hick, he has a ton of different pours, but his website does a really good job of showing you all the samples. You click into them and it's very clear. If you want the bluegill, you can see the bluegill pattern there in the shop. So very easy to add that to your cart. Now, let's get into the new product by Fresh Baits. I believe these are called the Mandingo. They have great names for all their stuff. This is, I believe, a 7-inch worm. And I just have post-spawn smallmouth. It's a 7-inch worm. I believe this is like the zombie color. It's like a fluorescent, like a fluorescent purple. I can just see this absolutely crushing smallmouth and largemouth, but where I fish, there are a lot more smallmouth. I can see this just crushing. Now, I'd mentioned I did pick up some owner shaky heads for this. These are 1/4 ounce. I bought these off of the guys over at Fresh Baits at their booth as well. Now, the thing to keep in mind with Fresh Baits, their plastics, they all float. So when you're going to this is the size that they recommended. It's the 1/4 ounce 4/0 for these. So if you're shopping around or you have them already, I'm not going to rig one up, but I just want to show you for size. That's perfect. So just picture this shaky head. These plastics float. So when this sinks down, that butt is up. And I don't know any bass or fish that's going to resist that. So I got this zombie color, I think is what it's called. I got that, especially for the clear water fisheries. And of course, I had to do something classic, like the black with blue speck. And then your classic green pumpkin. That's going to be very versatile. You can use that almost anywhere. So very excited about these. And I'm thinking these are going to be amazing post-spawn, just soaking them in some bass-rich areas. And looking forward to that. And their signature bait, the Scorpion. I mean, look at these things. I needed something for spring. I have their black and purple pattern, but I wanted something for spring, something very crawfishy. And again, these float. And just imagine throwing that on those jig heads and those claws just hanging out. Rumor has it these are also really great on a chatterbait or a blade bait as a trailer. So Nate Chagnon is one of their pro staff, and he swears by it. He's won a lot of tournaments and placed in tournaments doing that. So using these as a trailer as well. So very happy with all these baits. Again, the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo is coming up this weekend. It's run by Dan Kenny. He was the same guy who organized the New England Fishing Expo, where I got all these baits. I do know that typically Fresh Baits is going to be at that show, as well as Crazy Hick Bait, as well as Samatis. And it would be great to know if lead-free Bass Jigs and if Krank'd Up Custom Lures are there as well. But if not, again, all these companies have really good online stores. I've met all these guys in person. I would buy from them again and again. I can't say enough great things about each of them. So that's our product review, a quick rundown of what we picked up at the New England Fishing Expo, and we hope to see everybody at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo this weekend in Milford, New Hampshire. Everyone, thanks for supporting the channel, and we'll see you next time.